For almost 20 years, they really were the benchmark, weren't they? Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. That Hollywood-Nashville power couple, seemingly unbreakable. I mean, you look back at their time together since 2005, and it just felt solid. Like one of the few safe bets in that whole celebrity world.
Absolutely. They weren't just famous people together. They felt like a fixture. It really
Yeah.
seemed like they'd figured out how to balance these massive careers and a genuinely private family life. So when the news broke, late September 2025, that they were separating, well, the shockwave was huge globally.
Right. Everyone's thinking, wait, how does this couple not make it? But, when you actually pull back the curtain, look at the sources we've gathered, the legal docs, the insider timelines, those carefully placed interviews, what you see isn't really a story of, like, messy emotional collapse. It's actually more of a masterclass in controlling the narrative.
Precisely. We're diving into how one of the most powerful women in entertainment managed to pivot. Instead of being defined by, tabloid drama and heartbreak, she essentially authored her own story of strength and resilience. We're calling it the Kidman Doctrine, the strategic genius.
Okay, let's unpack this, because it really starts by challenging that idea of a sudden split, right? The public saw a shock announcement, a quick filing, but the sources we have paint a very different picture. A methodical, almost quiet separation unfolding over months, all defined by these really specific legal steps.
Yeah, the divergence was clearly deliberate. Think about it. Their last public event together was way back June 20th, 2025, a FIFA match in Nashville. And then, almost immediately after that, sources confirmed Keith Urban moved out, quietly left the family mansion, got a separate rental nearby. This was early summer. Internally, sources call that the real point of no return.
And the physical separation just cemented it. Kidman takes the girls, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, off to London. She's filming Practical Magic, too. Meanwhile, Urban's on tour, the Higher Life tour, completely separate continents for the summer. So yes, they were physically apart, but crucially, as you said, the legal groundwork was already being laid underneath all that.
And that's where it gets really interesting. The key piece of evidence showing this wasn't sudden is the permanent parenting plan. This wasn't some rushed agreement hammered out after the divorce papers hit the news. Urban signed it August 29th. Kidman signed it September 6th. That's 2025. Weeks, literally weeks, before the public knew a thing.
Wow, and the details in that plan, they say a lot, too. It gives Kidman primary residential parent status, 306 days a year with her?
That's right, 306 for her, 59 for Urban. And maybe just as important, it includes that clause. Neither parent speaks negatively about the other in front of the kids.
Okay, hold on. Signing something that detailed, that pre-negotiated before the split is public, doesn't that risk making her look, calculating? Couldn't that undermine the whole blindsided, heartbroken wife narrative that came later?
That's a really sharp question. And it highlights the strategic thinking. Her immediate priority, it seems, wasn't about winning the initial, emotional sympathy vote. It was about locking down her most critical asset, the children's stability and, frankly, custody. By getting that agreement signed privately, she established herself legally and potentially later publicly as the parent focused on structure, on the future.
Yeah.
It meant that when the news finally did break, that messy public fight over custody, which derails so many of these celebrity splits, it was already off the table, pre-settled.
Ah, I see. So the document itself becomes a kind of shield. Her first moves were private, decisive, securing the high ground legally before the media storm could even start brewing.
Exactly. That's the first pillar of this doctrine, strategic pre-planning. Create that legal safety net first. Take the biggest potential point of public conflict, the kids, out of the equation entirely.
Okay, so the legal foundation is set. Then TMZ breaks the story, the filing happens September 30th, and bam, the narrative war kicks off. And immediately, these two powerful, almost competing stories rush into the vacuum. Kidman's team had to navigate that field very carefully.
And that navigation, that's pillar number 2. Let's look at narrative A first. This was the dangerous one for Kidman, the idea of professional dissonance. The story basically went, the marriage crumbled because Kidman's career was surging again, and specifically because she was taking on these complex, maybe sexually provocative roles.
Right. They pointed directly at that 2024 film, Baby Girl, the erotic thriller where she plays a CEO having an affair with a much younger intern. Sources were leaking that Keith Urban strongly disliked that movie. And Kidman's own comments, about being so turned on during certain scenes, they were twisted into proof of marital problems. It's such a tired, frankly, misogynistic trope, isn't it? The successful woman's ambition destroys her personal life.
That was the narrative with the most potential to damage her image. Absolutely. But here's the strategic brilliance. That story, Narrative A, it got completely overshadowed, almost suffocated, by the rapid rise of Narrative B, personal betrayal, the classic midlife crisis story.
And this one just exploded, didn't it? Reports everywhere consistently said Urban was the one who decided to end it. That immediately cast Kidman as the one who was left, the one feeling shattered, blindsided. Public sympathy just flooded towards her instantly.
And that sympathy got turbocharged by all of the speculation amplified across numerous outlets about Urban potentially being involved with someone else, specifically Maggie Baugh, the 25-year-old guitarist in his touring band, the sort of nail in the coffin for that narrative. When Urban was actually seen reportedly changing the lyrics to the song The Fighter to include Baugh's name during a live show.
So wait, the strategy was basically let the betrayal story run, use it as a shield against the career criticism.
Precisely. That's the masterful navigation, what we're calling passive amplification. Kidman's camp kept feeding the media details about her emotional state, the shock, the devastation. But they never directly confirmed or denied the cheating rumors. They created this emotional vacuum. And the public, already sort of primed by years of celebrity gossip tropes, rushed in to fill that vacuum with the more dramatic, more sympathetic story. Narrative B.
It's incredibly effective when you think about it. They essentially let the aging rock star having a midlife crisis narrative take center stage, which conveniently deflected all the heat away from Narrative A, the career woman ruining her marriage angle. It cemented Kidman as the resilient one who was wronged.
Right. She didn't have to sling any mud herself. The media cycle basically cast Urban as the antagonist for her.
The media did the heavy lifting, yeah. Reinforcing her as the victim, but also simultaneously celebrating her strength in the face of it all.
Which perfectly set the stage for phase 3 of the doctrine.
Yeah.
The public performance, if you will.
Right. This wasn't about her issuing tearful statements. It was about disciplined actions across multiple platforms, what you called the art of showing, not telling. And it started even before the split announcement with those prophetic interviews.
Yeah, remember that Vogue interview? Done in late August, but it came out after the split news. And it had that incredibly wry quote from her. How many times do you have to be taught that you think you know where your life is going, and then it isn't going in that direction?
Talk about laying the groundwork. It gives her immediate dignity. And then her very first interview after the news with Harper's Bazaar. She framed herself instantly as a survivor. I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I've survived a lot. Just like that.
Those quotes are not accidents. They're like philosophical sound bites. They satisfy the media's hunger for a quote, but they control the emotional narrative. They shut down any attempt to paint her as just a victim. Instead, she's positioned as someone who understands life throws curveballs, and she navigates them.
Okay, so the words set the tone. Then came the visuals, the strategic appearances, the power of presence. Her first public outing after the filing, October 4th, not hiding. She's at a major Amphar charity event in Dallas, projecting pure composure, purpose.
But the real visual masterstroke, arguably the peak of the doctrine in action, was 2 days later, attending the Chanel show, Paris Fashion Week. And crucially, she wasn't just there as a fashion icon, she arrived with her 2 daughters.
That image just screamed volumes without a single word spoken, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maternal strength, yeah. Normalcy amidst the chaos, professional status intact. And of course, the debut of the breakup bangs. Every single outlet jumped on that as the symbol of a fresh start, a new chapter.
That's the core of it, Chanel, with the kids. It's like an A-list normalization tactic. It says, look, I'm fine, my career's fine, my kids are my priority, and they're fine. My status, untouched.
And the final piece, digital discipline. Silence on social media right after the news broke just starved the drama of any oxygen from her end. Then, when she finally posted, masterstroke. Just a chic photo dump from the Chanel show.
And that caption. It thanks Chanel, standard stuff, but the closing. Thank you, a chain official, for having me and my girls. Pointedly personal. The power of omission again. She refused to feed the gossip machine on her own turf. All attention redirected to the things she wanted highlighted. Career. Children.
Okay, so let's tie this all together for the listener, connecting back to the sources. What does this all mean? Let's synthesize the Kidman Doctrine.
So what does this all mean? The Kidman Doctrine, as we're finding it, is really a blueprint for high-stakes crisis management. It rests on 3 core pillars, all working together. Pillar 1, strategic pre-planning. Lock down your non-negotiables, custody, stability, finances privately before the storm hits. Get ahead of the legal game. Pillar 2, masterful navigation of the media narrative. You don't have to create the sympathetic story. Just allow the culturally resonant one, in this case, personal betrayal, to gain traction through passive amplification. Use that story as your shield against more damaging narratives, like professional dissonance. And pillar 3, disciplined communication. It's all about showing, not telling. Use every platform, interviews, appearances, social media to project strength, resilience, purpose. Refuse to publicly perform grief or anger. Starve the drama.
And the result? Pretty undeniable. Kidman walked away with immense public goodwill. She was framed as this figure of empowered resilience. Urban's narrative, on the other hand, got messy, became fodder for fake news, AI clickbait, which just further damaged his standing. It really was a clean win for her in the public perception battle.
It shows that sometimes the quiet, strategic moves behind the scenes have far more impact than any loud, emotional public statement.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Kidman seemed to understand this dynamic of modern celebrity, these parasocial relationships. She knew a crisis creates a kind of narrative void, so she proactively filled it, offered a clear hero, herself, a clear theme, resilience. And she turned us, the spectators, into supporters rooting for her next chapter. Could this playbook actually change how major public figures navigate personal crises going forward in this digital age? And that's definitely something for you to consider the next time a big split hits the headlines.
Yeah, keep an eye out. See if you can spot those 3 pillars: pre-planning, narrative navigation, disciplined communication, and other situations. You might start seeing this architecture more often than you think.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the strategic genius behind a truly fascinating celebrity separation. Thanks for joining us as we explored this masterclass in crisis management. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.